Welcome to the week that was. I'm Ed Greenberger. Another crazy week of news. Hurricane Laura pounded the Louisiana coast as a Category 4 storm with winds of 150 miles per hour Thursday morning. As of this recording, 6 people are dead and 750,000 without power. Of course, American deaths and destruction couldn't keep President Trump from doing what he does best, putting on a show and breaking laws while he's doing it. The Republican National Convention was a Donald Trump suckfest from start to finish. And best of all, the Trump campaign broke the law dozens of times. There's this little thing called the Hatch Act, which prohibits executive branch employees from engaging in political activity inside federal buildings or while on duty. The law exists to make sure taxpayer money isn't used for political purposes. Here's what the Trump administration thinks about that.
Nobody outside of the Beltway really cares. They expect that Donald Trump is going to promote Republican values.
That was White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows talking to Politico this week, saying Americans don't care that the Trump campaign used the White House for a staged naturalization ceremony, a Rose Garden speech by the First Lady, a presidential pardon announcement, or that Secretary of State Mike Pompeo gave a speech from Jerusalem where he was conducting official state business. Which is interesting because just 4 years ago, Meadows had this to say after Federal Election Commission lawyer April Sands tweeted pro-democratic messages.
She had to quit and resign because she actually violated the Hatch Act, which says that she was actually using government, benefits in terms of actually addressing their political targeting, and it's troubling.
The instrument has yet to be invented that can measure the length of the list of things that troubled Republicans 4 years ago that don't seem to be an issue anymore. And so comes to an end this week's episode of Hypocrisy Theater. Tune in next week when we hear President Trump say,
"Look, I'm very pro-choice."
And thrill to the delight of scenes like this one.
I know Hillary and I know her husband very well. They're fine people.
How does she go down in history?
Well, I think her history is far from being over. I'd like to answer that question in another 15 years from now. I think she's going to go down at a minimum as a great senator. I think she is a great wife to a president. And I think Bill Clinton was a great president.
What I wouldn't give for a large sack with horse manure in it. Violence erupted on the streets of Kenosha, Wisconsin this week. On Sunday, police shot a 29-year-old unarmed black man named Jacob Blake 7 times in the back as he was walking to his car. Turns out Blake did have a warrant for his arrest in a sexual assault case, but he had no gun. Police say he had a knife under the floorboard of his car. Again, though, they shot him 7 times in the back, right in front of his young sons, who were in the car, and the whole thing captured on video. Miraculously, Blake survived, but the incident touched off protests in Kenosha, which included looting and property damage. It also made 17-year-old Kyle Rittenhouse of Illinois decide to grab an AR-15, cross the state line, and show up in Kenosha, where he joined a group of militia members who said they were there to protect the town's businesses. Before he left Kenosha, Rittenhouse shot 3 men, and 2 of them are dead. He's charged with first-degree intentional homicide. I want you to watch this video, which shows Rittenhouse after the shootings walking toward police.
Hey, he just shot them! Hey, dude right here just shot them! Dude right here just shot all them down there! That dude just shot them right there! That dude right here! Yeah! Get the fuck down there!
Injured straight ahead. Someone injured straight ahead.
Trump supporters say it was self-defense, which prosecutors obviously don't believe since they charged Rittenhouse. But forget about that for now. Let's focus on what happened after the shootings. So there's Rittenhouse after killing people in the middle of the night, still holding his AR-15, his hands in the air in front of the cops, and people around him shouting to police that he had just shot people. Yet the cops don't stop him. They don't question him. All they do is ask him where the victims are, and he just walks away from the scene and drives back home to Illinois. Jacob Blake, on the other hand, in broad daylight, had no gun on him, with his kids in the car, and the police show up and shoot him 7 times in the back. How can that happen? As the song goes, one of these things is not like the other. One of these things doesn't belong. Now tell me Colin Kaepernick is disrespecting the military when he kneels, that Black Lives Matter protests are evil, that there's no such thing as white privilege. In your life, have you ever heard anything so absurd? The NBA's Milwaukee Bucks reacted to the events in Kenosha by boycotting their playoff game against Atlanta Wednesday night. That led to the league postponing other playoff games that night. Here's how Charles Barkley and LA Clippers head coach Doc Rivers reacted to the whole thing.
It's exhausting being black.
All you hear is Donald Trump and all of them talking about fear. We're the ones getting killed. We're the ones getting shot. We're the ones that we're denied to live in certain communities. We've been hung. It's amazing to me why we keep loving this country and this country does not love us back.
And here's a tweet from LeBron James Wednesday. F this, man. We demand change. Sick of it. Look, as a card-carrying Cleveland sports fan, I can only tell you this. Anybody who can lead a Cleveland team to a world championship is pretty much omnipotent. We need to just do what he says and move on. Trust me on this one. Also, I can't believe it took me 21 episodes to work this photo in. Here's a fun thing. The guy who runs the U.S. Postal Service doesn't know anything about the mail.
What about to mail a postcard?
I don't know, ma'am.
You don't know the cost to mail a postcard?
I don't.
That's California Congresswoman Katie Porter grilling recently appointed Postmaster General Louis DeJoy during a Monday hearing on Capitol Hill. The House Oversight Committee wanted to know more about DeJoy's moves to, among other things, dismantle sorting machines and remove mailboxes ahead of November's election, during which mail-in voting is expected to play a huge role due to COVID-19. Before being appointed, DeJoy donated more than $1 million to Donald Trump's 2020 campaign and has been criticized for helping Trump slow down the mail to sow electoral chaos. Here's what Tennessee Democrat Jim Cooper asked him.
Mr. DeJoy, is your backup plan to be pardoned like Roger Stone?
Oh, God. Pitiful.
You have 2 seconds to answer the question.
I have no comments on that.
Damn, Jim Cooper ain't playing. But sadly, it's a valid question. I mean, the last time we saw a president act like this much of a criminal, it was in the Pelican Brief. Finally this week, in an interview with the Washington Examiner, President Trump said he and Joe Biden should take drug tests before their debates because the only way to explain Biden's good performance in his one-on-one March debate with Bernie Sanders is that Biden was on something. When Biden heard this, he said, stuff that malarkey in your bonnet, you lily-livered knee-knobbler. Sure, I was on something. I was on a roll with apple honey jam and a side of butter beans with bacon. To which Trump replied, malarkey, bonnet, knobbler, apple, bacon. Do I win? That's the week that was. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe to my channel by clicking on the circle. My wife says if I don't have 10,000 subscribers by the end of the month, I'll never see the inside of a Victoria's Secret again. Don't forget to check out my other Week That Was videos. I'm Ed Greenberger. Stay safe and healthy. We'll see you next week.